So 5G is one of the key components that will make artificial intelligence a reality everywhere. President Trump this week called for the federal government to support the development of AI technologies and maintain America's leadership in that arena. The president's executive order is aimed squarely at China, who it's competing with, which has had an AI plan in place since 2017. China's government set three strategic objectives. By 2020, catch up to global standards and establish a core AI industry. By 2025, establish AI laws and regulations and begin using AI in sectors, for example, like medicine and agriculture as well. And by 2030, lead the world. China's plan is already yielding results by some measures like funding and, for example, academic papers as well. It matches or even beats the United States. Jason Furman led President Obama's Council of Economic Advisors and actually co-authored that office's report on AI, on artificial intelligence. He now teaches economics at Harvard. I asked him how President Trump's executive order is going to be implemented. Take a look.
That's the big question, because some executive orders are just nice symbolism and no one ever really follows through on them, and others become a real organizing tool that get the whole executive branch to mobilize. And just by reading the words, you can't ever really tell which of those is going to be the case.
It's interesting because with this executive order, there's no funding attached. Is that normal? Did that surprise you somewhat?
You know, it doesn't surprise me because sometimes in executive order, the president's budget will be out later. And, you know, item 1 in this executive order on artificial intelligence is more funding for AI. I think that's really needed. I think that's something the government needs to do. I'm hoping it's something we see in President Trump's budget, but right now we just don't know whether or not it will be.
There are 18 other countries that have already launched AI strategies, including the UK. The fact that the US is 19th on this, I mean, why are they so late to the game, do you think?
I worked in the Obama administration, and we put down some of the first steps on an AI strategy. President Obama was very focused on it. I think for the first 2 years of this administration, there was a lot more focus on what could be done about steel and industries of the past, as opposed to what could be done about AI and industries on the future. So, I'd rather have been number 1 on the list than number 19 on the list. But I'm, glad to see the United States somewhere on that list now.
One country that is fierce in terms of its AI strategy and really just technology strategy overall is, of course, China. They are investing a huge amount of money, resources into AI. How does the US compare with China in terms of competition? Is there some fear there that, several years from now, 10, 20, 30 years, China will be far, far, far ahead of the US?
Certainly some of the motivation for this is competition with China. If you read the language of the executive order, it refers a lot to American values, privacy, and so this isn't going to be the route that China's going. The United States has a lot of strengths that China doesn't have. It has tremendous openness. It has a lot of immigrants. I actually think that's critical to keep that going. And our companies are spending a lot of money, even if the government didn't. So I'd still give the advantage to the United States. But regardless, I think we're going to learn from China. China will learn from the United States, and this competition will be good for everyone.
And as you know, over the past 2 years since President Trump took office, his priority, Jason, as you know, has been jobs. He wanted to be the jobs president. What will AI mean for the labor market in the United States?
I think it will pose a challenge for some workers because it can replace some of what they can do. There's no reason we couldn't meet that challenge with equipping people with better training and skills so they could get even better paid jobs. But that'll take some effort and focus to make sure you get the good outcome and not just the greater inequality and greater challenges for workers that we've often seen with innovations in the past.
And finally, I've always seen the sort of push for AI to come from the private sector. The fact that the government is really seeing this as a priority right now, what does that tell you?
Look, the private sector wants the government to be focused on this. Setting some basic rules of the road so that everyone has confidence is important. AI relies on large data sets. The government's sitting on a lot of data. It needs to make an effort to get those out into private hands. And then basic research has always played a role in innovation and economic advancement. And that basic research, a lot of it's going to have to come, from the government. So I think this is complementary to private efforts, and if the administration follows through on it, could be important.